Welcome back to PI Time. This week, we will be discussing rejuvenation through self-love, the power of emotional rest. Let me ask you, what if the exhaustion you're carrying isn't coming from doing too much, but instead from believing you're only worthy when you overextend yourself? So many people come into this space believing rest is something they earn after the work is finished, after the pressure eases, after they've proven themselves. But what if rest isn't the reward at the end of the road? What if it's the support that makes the road possible? Today, we're exploring emotional rest, not as an escape, not as avoidance, but as a return to worthiness, a return to joy, a return to the parts of you that have been quietly waiting while you kept pushing forward. In this conversation, you'll learn how slowing down doesn't make you weaker, how softening expectations doesn't make you lose ground, and how reconnecting with joy doesn't distract you from growth. It revitalizes the heart on which growth depends. You'll hear stories of 4 individuals, different lives, different struggles, each discovering that emotional rest wasn't something they had to earn. It was something they had to allow. And by the end of our time together, I hope that you won't just understand emotional rest differently. You'll feel permission to experience it for yourself. Because before we can rest emotionally, we have to notice what's been keeping us from it. For many students, the pattern is subtle, doesn't announce itself as harm, disguises itself as responsibility, as productivity, being strong. It sounds like, I can handle it. I'll rest later. I just need to get through this. But underneath that pattern often lives a quieter belief. If I slow down, I'll fall behind. If I soften, I'll lose control. If I rest, I'll become less valuable. This belief shaped the life of someone named Elowin Maeve. Elowin was dependable, the one people trusted, the one who always showed up, the one who carried emotional weight quietly so others didn't have to. From the outside, her life looked steady. From the inside, she felt hollow. She once said, "I don't remember the last time I felt joy without guilt attached to it." That sentence matters. Because emotional exhaustion doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, through numbness, through irritability, through the quiet loss of delight. Elowin wasn't broken. She wasn't failing. She was emotionally overextended. And the first shift didn't come from changing her schedule. Came from recognizing how tightly she had tied her worth to output. Awareness didn't judge her, didn't shame her, simply illuminated the pattern she had been living inside. And once you see a pattern clearly, you're no longer trapped inside it. But awareness alone isn't enough. The next step isn't fixing. It isn't forcing change. It's grounding. Emotional rest begins in the body, not the calendar. This is where many students feel uncomfortable. Because when you've lived in urgency, calm can feel unfamiliar, even unsafe. Raviel Orion understood this deeply. Raviel was balancing academic pressure and family expectations. His mind was always ahead of the moment, anticipating, preparing, bracing. He described his inner world as never quiet. When Raviel began practicing emotional grounding, simple pauses, slower breathing, moments of stillness, peace wasn't what arrived first. Anxiety did. because silence gave his emotions space to surface. But instead of escaping that discomfort, Raviel learned to stay. He learned that balance doesn't mean eliminating emotion, it means allowing emotion to move through without resistance. Over time, his nervous system began to understand something new. Rest was not a threat. Stillness was not danger. And as safety settled into his body, his thoughts softened. His clarity increased. Because when the body feels supported, the heart can finally exhale. And when there is space to exhale, something else becomes possible. Perspective. Many individuals are living by stories they never consciously chose. Stories formed during survival. Stories shaped by pressure, expectation, or loss. Emotional rest creates enough space to ask a powerful question. Is this story still true? That question reshaped Kalis Rowan's journey. Kalis grew up equating worth with achievement. Praise came when he excelled. Tension followed performance. Rest to him felt like failure. When burnout arrived, his instinct was to push harder, to prove he was still capable, still valuable. But his body refused to cooperate. Through emotional rest, something unexpected happened. He began listening instead of overriding. And what he heard was this: his exhaustion wasn't weakness. It was information. Information telling him that the story he had lived by no longer fit the person he was becoming. As Kalis softened his expectations, he didn't lose ambition. He gained discernment. He stopped asking, "What do I need to do to be worthy?" and started asking, "What do I need to feel whole?" That shift didn't slow his life down. It aligned it. And alignment opens the door to healing. Not dramatic healing, not an overnight transformation, but steady restoration. This is where emotional rest begins, replenishing what was quietly depleted. Joy, creativity, tenderness, presence. Ismra Soline's story lives here. Ismra was navigating grief while trying to remain functional. She believed staying busy would protect her from the depth of her pain. But grief doesn't disappear when ignored. It waits. Through emotional rest, Ismra learned to give her grief space, without letting it consume her. She allowed herself softness, music, nature, moments of laughter without explanation. Slowly, joy returned, not as a betrayal of her loss, but as companionship. She discovered that emotional rest didn't erase her pain. It expanded her capacity to hold it with compassion. And inside that compassion, her heart began to heal. And when emotional rest becomes integrated, forward movement changes. You still grow. You still move. But you stop abandoning yourself in the process. Elowin learned that worthiness doesn't require constant giving. Raviel discovered that balance begins with safety. Kalis reframed success through wholeness. Ismra reclaimed joy alongside grief. Different paths, same truth. Emotional rest is not stopping your life. It is supporting it. When students allow emotional rest, they don't lose momentum. They gain clarity. They move forward with intention instead of pressure, with trust instead of urgency, with compassion instead of criticism. So here's what I want you to take with you. Worthiness is not a reward for endurance. It is a foundation you build from. Emotional rest is not laziness, it is leadership within the self. And joy is not something you stumble upon after healing is complete. Joy is something that helps healing happen. Before we close, let's make this practical. Create one daily pause. Just one. A moment where you are not producing, fixing, or preparing. Let your body settle. Soften one expectation. Ask yourself, what would compassion look like here? Reconnect with joy intentionally, not as a reward, as nourishment, and listen to your inner language. Notice where worthiness is being measured instead of honored. You are allowed to rest emotionally. You are allowed to soften. You are allowed to feel joy without justification. And when you do, you don't fall behind. You come home. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for choosing yourself. On behalf of the whole Positively Improved team, we would like to say thank you for joining us, and we hope that you will take time every day to pause, reflect, and reconnect with yourself. Till next week, namaste.